Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Dona Kappmeyer, and I am the CEO and firm owner of Action Coach of Coastal Bend and Capital Gain Plan Consulting in South Texas. And I will be your host for today. I am very excited to have our special guest, Zac Russell, on our show. Zac is the president of Titan Fuels. Today, we're going to speak with Zac about his journey to get to where he's at today and the challenges and successes of owning and operating a business. If this is the first time on our channel, please be sure to like and subscribe so that you can get notifications when we publish great new content. Well, Zac, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Well, let's start off by having you take a moment to share a little bit about your business and how your journey began.
Yeah, so Titan Fuels is a fuel distributor. We started in 2021, perfect timing, right through COVID. And I graduated college. I went and worked for a site work company for a couple of years, doing dirt work projects. Right after that, transitioned into working for a local small fuel distributor as an outside sales rep. Was there for about 6 years, had kind of, because they were smaller, was able to learn the business, and just was all kind of always itching to do my own business, just didn't know when. So COVID hit, kind of felt like it was if any time was the best time, that was the best time. So I pulled out all my 401k and used that as the down payment to get Titan started. So I'm a co-owner and I have a business partner. And been in it for about 10 years now, in the fuel business, 4 years with Titan. And, we've been excited and just looking for different ways to grow and how to continue moving forward.
Well, congratulations on taking that big leap during that time.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done. Well done. So we'll talk about mistakes first. What were some of the biggest mistakes that you made along the way, and what did you learn from them?
I think some of the biggest mistakes, you start a new business, everything is getting thrown at you. If anybody says they were prepared to start their own business, they're lying. There are so many different things that I didn't think about, beforehand, and sure wasn't thinking about them running, going through it. But I would say having checks and balances. We're a service company, so we have, we're up to 85 deliveries a day. So, being able to track and have parameters of knowing what deliveries were done, how they got done, when they got done, what was the prices that we quoted the jobs at. Little things like that are the details that you don't think about when you first start. You're just worried about getting the job done. So I think not having some checks and balances in the beginning was probably the biggest mistakes. Put a lot of trust in some people that probably should have not trusted. But it's a double-edged sword. You run into some really good people that you're glad you trusted them too. So those are some of the hills we've had to climb. But through the end, it's made us stronger, and I think we've just been able to learn our lessons a little faster.
Fantastic. So let's fast forward in time. You're 4 years into this on your own. What are the biggest challenges that you're facing in your business today?
People is one of them. We've grown pretty quickly. We have just under 40 employees, and so we've had to hire a lot. We've had to let some people go, just trying to find good people. The other bad part of coming out of COVID was, that there was a lot of people want to work from home. So we tried,
Yeah.
and we still have a little mix of that. But finding people motivated, this is really a young person's type of service.
Mhm.
They're out on job sites. You're very mobile. You're having to get up and down pieces of equipment. So finding young people who I don't know that they necessarily say that's what they would envision that they want to do every day, but that's the type of person we have to attract. So that's been a big challenge, in finding people that are motivated to do that type of work, and then that you can trust them with a very expensive piece of equipment. So
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. And then you have certifications and the like that you have to have as part of them
Yeah.
operating these trucks?
Yeah, some of our trucks we have to operate with a hazmat, CDL,
Mhm.
tanker endorsement, and then kind of the other unique part of our business model is we have purchased a very specific type of truck that you don't have to have that license and stuff for. So we kind of felt like when we were first getting started, hey, this should really open up our labor pool as far as who we can get to drive these vehicles, and that has been true thus far, but it has also you run into, trying to have people who are inexperienced, and they're young and maybe immature or, not at that stage of their life yet. And so it's had its challenges and it's had its plus sides and its downsides. So, but yes.
Love the fact that you're trying to, how do I get creative and trying to accommodate that bigger labor pool and do it effectively?
Yeah, where I worked previous, like our industry is kind of there's a lot of very small mom and pop distributors that make up kind of our industry. And then you have the very large distributors, and so where I had previously been, that was always the challenge of finding kind of younger people in their career that,
Mhm.
wanted to take to go get those certifications, to go get that CDL, go get that hazmat and tanker endorsement. It's hard, and the government makes it even harder to achieve nowadays. So, you kind of get yourself in a pigeonhole of people that you can kind of acquire for that position. So, we've tried to take it with a different scope and see if we can get younger people who are, capable of doing the job and teaching them, and setting them up for a long-term good job, good career.
Right, right, very nice. So, where do you see this company? We're going to fast forward where we were 4 years fast forward. Now we're going to fast forward into the future. So, 5 years out, where do you see this business being in the next 5 years?
So our goal internally is, we did just a little under 40 million in revenue
Mhm.
last year, and our goal, our 5-year outlook would be that we'd like to be at 150 million. Um, so we've had an acquisition already. We've done an acquisition, a very small one. So I think our growth pattern is looking, we're going to try and do quite a bit naturally. And then the other part of it, we would like to continue down some acquisitions at some point.
Fantastic. Well, then, congratulations on that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So let's talk about success. And so you had to have had some mentors in your life so far to get you where you're at. When you think about success and you think about your mentors, who do you think of and why?
My business partner is definitely one of them. He has been a pretty intricate part to me making that leap in 2021. But that's who I kind of lean on a day to day. He's about ten years older than me, so he's had a little more seasoned experiences. So his name is Luke, and I lean on Luke quite a bit on a day-to-day basis. And I've been fortunate and have been able to surround myself with some people that have been in the industry much longer than I have. And that's also helped out quite a bit.
And that's fantastic. And these are people that you have access to, you know, very often.
Yes, my CFO is, we hired him as a fractional CFO.
Mhm.
So he was with us for a whole year, has owned companies, has been a CFO at multiple, $100 million companies. So he just brought a whole nother perspective to the business, that, I would have never gotten anywhere else. And I've been fortunate that I've had a couple other hires that have been in the fuel industry for 10, 15 more years than I have. So I've been able to lean on their knowledge also. So.
Nice, very nice. So when you talk about your industry, what sets you apart from others who are in the same space?
I think I think what we like is the challenges. There's definitely an easy route to every business, and we have elected to maybe try and chase the more difficult jobs, the ones that, take a lot more effort. The billing and back office takes a lot more effort. And so we've been able to separate ourselves by not saying no to everything, but how more of a can-do attitude, towards much larger projects that are more dynamic, that other people in our industry would steer away from because that's just out of the norm. You know, they want to stick with the same day-to-day deliveries, and we have obviously quite a few of those. But I think where we've really separated ourselves is by being able to take on large projects, even at a smaller scale that we are. You know, running equipment that makes our jobs easier, that allows us to do a lot more jobs than other distributors can. Um, and just having that attitude of there's no project that we're not willing to really take a look at and see if we can make it fit for our business model.
Fantastic. If you could do things all over again, what would you do differently, or would you do anything differently?
You know, my wife told me numerous times, why do you got to grow so fast? And in one light, it's a bad thing, and in the other light, it's a good thing because you know, there's times where we're all told we should be patient, and you know, I think you can take that the completely opposite way of being too patient. So I would say there were some things I would have rather slowed down. You know, we expanded quickly into other markets. So we are in San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston, and then Kerrville. San Antonio is my base. That's where I'm from. That's where I started my career, and that's where the most of the other people that surround me, their careers were started too. So I probably would have been a little slower to maybe expanding so fast into other markets. But we were also chasing a clientele that supported that. So, in one way, you know, there were a lot of lessons that could have been learned probably beforehand. Mainly, most of those checks and balances, you know, for having locations that you necessarily aren't at on a daily basis. Um, but on the other hand, I wouldn't necessarily change it because it supported our growth quite a bit by being able to get to those things so quickly. So I definitely wouldn't be hesitant to move again, but I would maybe have those checks and balances in place a little better than I did the first go around.
Sure, makes sense. And hindsight's 2020 always, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
What else would you like to share with our audience, or what would you like them to know about you?
You know, I think you know, I'm a younger guy. I'm 35 years old. I would just tell people don't be scared to jump out and try your dream. You know, my business partner always told me when I was really kind of hesitant to start this, you know, he said, "What's the worst thing that happens? We go get regular jobs after this." And I said, and that really just kind of put it in a whole different perspective. It was like, yeah, if that's the worst thing, like I think we'll be just fine, you know. So I think that's definitely helped, and you know, just to not be scared, fail fast. You know, at the I love the saying to get comfortable being uncomfortable because it's a cliche, but at the other side of being uncomfortable is our growth, you know.
Okay.
And when you can get used to trying to put yourself in those situations on a regular basis, um, I've experienced that my personal growth and career growth has grown immensely. So
Well done. You know, my dad always said, "Never rest on your laurels," and I know that's a term he stole from somebody else. I don't remember who quoted it, but as soon as you start slowing down and getting comfortable, that's when the growth can't happen. So you've got to be uncomfortable with it.
yeah, and it goes back to the my comment earlier about being a little bit more patient. It's a double-edged sword, to be honest. I
Right.
mean, you can either plow through and learn the lessons quickly, you know, and I think the ones that get hurt are the ones that don't learn those lessons and then, you know, don't make adjustments, you know. So I kind of believe in both ways. If it's hard to say that, but it's the truth, you know.
You bet. You bet. So how can our viewers and listeners get in contact with you?
LinkedIn's the best source. You know, I'm pretty heavy user on LinkedIn. That's where you're going to catch most about our business and see our equipment and the type of jobs we're on. Our website is titanfuels.us. those are the two best places to see info about us, and give me a message or ask me any questions about anything they might have going on.
Fantastic. Well, do you have any questions about me or about Action Coach?
Yeah, I guess I would like to understand more kind of who you've worked with, or kind of, I'm sure you've had lots of people on the podcast, and what maybe you've taken from, all the other industries that exist, and, what is the most common denominator of all of us that are on here, or what is not? What do you see the most of people saying they wish they would have changed, or done differently also?
Oh my goodness, those are great questions, and there's lots of different answers. So, who do we work with? We'll start off with that. We can pretty much work with anybody, but companies that we've worked with, we've worked for contractors like plumbing contractors. We've worked for restaurants, professionals like attorneys and doctors. Um, we've worked with manufacturers. We've worked with insurance companies. That I like to say, I'll attribute it to my background being 30 years in corporate, and then one of my other coaches' background, heavy on the manufacturing and engineering side. So we bring a lot of history with us, if you will. I won't age myself, but we bring a lot of history, and so I like the fact that can pretty much work with any type of business. There's a couple that we don't, just in essence of the type of model it is, but 80% of it is the same. And so about 20% of it might be unique. But going back to these podcasts, there's so much commonality in the struggles that people have, like yourself. You happen to be one that started early on. A lot of them are not getting their start in their own business until later on in life. And what I hear often is, I wish I would have done it sooner.
Yeah.
I wish I would have scaled sooner, right?
Yep.
I wish I wouldn't have listened to this person, or I wish I would have listened to this person. So it's it's interesting, Zach, because regardless of the industry or the type of company that you're in, the problems are really similar.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I have always teeter-tottered with how fast do you grow, right? And the bottom line is that the challenges of being, when I first started, it was me in a truck and one other person in a truck making deliveries all day, all through the night, then staying up to do billing and all those things. And the bottom line is the challenge is just as hard with one or two people as it is with 40 people,
Yeah.
just different challenges. But, you'll learn hard lessons being small, and you'll learn, hard or harder lessons being, larger. So if I've kind of always, I like to listen to YouTube, I like to listen to people who are mentors, and they kind of all say the same thing. If it's going to be hard, you might as well pick the higher end of it. So that's kind of my philosophy, and I think I'll keep chasing that side of it.
Well, one of the things that you talked about was about mentors and the people that you're surrounding yourself with. If that isn't one of the largest indicators of success, it should be up top, because you're surrounding yourself with the right people who can influence you in the right way. And so many people get caught up with surrounding themselves with the wrong people because they're scared. And getting out of that, we call it getting out of that scarcity. We're conditioned as a scarcity society.
Yep.
Fear and scarcity are like in almost ingrained in our DNA purely by the all of the information that we get on a daily basis. And if
Yep.
you can get out of that mindset where you have an abundance mindset where there's plenty for everybody,
Yep.
right? And it's not competition, it's co-opetition, because
Yep.
there's plenty for everybody. Zach, if you received all of the field business that you possibly could have today and said, hey, we're going to give you everything, could you handle it?
Yeah, no, we couldn't.
No.
And and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's even something I put in my notes to discuss with you is, we have from the beginning, I have never chased or wanted to grow saying that everybody is our customer. The bottom line is they aren't. We want to be with a selective few, and those are our customers, where we bring so much value to their business that they can't see themselves operating without us, and that they bring us enough value that we can't see us being without them as a customer, and so I think when everybody starts, we of course want all the business we can handle, but if you can stick to your guns from the get-go and just know that you're really trying to operate with maybe like 20% of the people who are in your space that are potential customers, that's like where the cream of the crop is, where they value what you bring and you can service and give them everything that they need. And that's our goal is for them to be our customer.
You bet. We like to call those kinds of folks, that's your target market.
Yeah.
Specifically, this is the kind of client I would like. And then what you're doing is you're creating raving fans. So they're going to refer you to everybody. They're going to be your free marketing, and they're going to shout out to the world that you've got to deal with, or you have to work with Zac and Titan Fuels because they're top notch. And it doesn't get much better than that.
No, I mean, I started in sales, and it's hopefully that you have a good enough reputation where you're not the one doing the cold calling all the time, right? It's you're getting some natural business from the relationships you've already built, and you're exactly right.
You bet. You bet. Well, thanks for those questions. And Zac, please, thank you very much for sharing your story. This has been fantastic. And I know
Yeah.
that our audience will find this very informative, especially from the fact that you are scaling so quickly. I mean, those numbers are incredible.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's been a fun ride. We've learned a lot of lessons, and I hope that we'll keep learning some good lessons, and that'll keep moving us forward. So,
Awesome. Well, this is the Business Spotlight series with Dona Kappmeyer from Action Coach of Coastal Bend and Zac Russell with Titan Fuels. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to see our great content. And thank you for being with us today. And bye for now. Zac, thank you so much for being on the show.
yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care.